Welcome to our Wednesday, May 14 homeschool day. We've already done a lot this morning. It's 11 a.m. and on Mondays and Wednesdays, my daughter has in-person classes. Nope, she has online classes from 12 to 1. She has an English class online from 12 to 1. But we've already done so much so far this morning. I went to our local regional park for a walk this morning, and when I was there just a couple of days ago, I saw that the creek was still flowing. It's a seasonal creek, and so usually by this time of year, it's pretty much dried up. Sometimes we don't even get any water flow. In those years that we had a lot of drought, there was like no water flow at all. But I did pick up a test tube of creek water because just yesterday we read this book, The Vast Wonders of the World, and it inspired us to pick up something to look at in our microscope. So we have our microscope here. We have some slides that are already prepared, but I thought it would be interesting to test or to see what is in our creek water. And since we just did our demonstrations on pH, we used a red cabbage juice as a pH indicator. I thought it would also be interesting to check the pH of our creek water. I kind of think I already know what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be interesting to check that out. And I think I also still have some pH strips that we can use as well. Okay, so for today's homeschooling, actually, let me tell you, we've had a lot going on already this morning. It's spring, and so we have the spring cleaning bug, and I went through our pantry and I just kind of gave it a refresh. And I have a friend who's doing some non-conventional composting. So she's taking any of like my flour, nuts, anything that has gone like old, expired, rancid. She's taking that in order to grow grubs for her chickens. So it was easy to get rid of things because I knew it was going to a good cause. Okay, so we also worked in the garden this morning. We worked in the garden this morning because we are doing some planting in the backyard, and we have to do like a lot of renovations in our backyard. We have a lot of landscaping to do, but in the meantime, we are just kind of tilling an area of the backyard so that we can grow some flowers and some tomatoes and other things. And so we did that yesterday because yesterday we also had a chemistry demonstration based on this book called Chemistry the Waldorf Way. And we were doing a demonstration on burning refined fuels. So we did both the botanicals and animal products and mineral. So we did a little bit from the mineral kingdom, the animal kingdom, and botanicals. We did this one, and then we did burning refined fuel. So when we burned refined fuel, we wanted to do that outside, just a little bit safer. And actually, it was safer to do all of it outside. Now, when we first did part of this demonstration back in October, it was during fire season. No, it wasn't October. Actually, we did it a couple of times. We've had some very intense fires this past year, and it was not safe to be doing this outside. Even if we were keeping it safe, it's just not gonna be okay to do it outside. We have a fire pit and everything, but we did it indoors, and that was a mistake because even when you're burning just a little bit of anything botanical, it produces so much smoke that even with a well-ventilated, windows open and everything, it wasn't a good idea. So we did that again outside. And since we were outside and the weather was so beautiful, we ended up doing some gardening. And since we started that, we decided to do that today as well. So our morning has been spent mostly outside or out of our schoolroom, but it is time to work on our lessons. So yesterday we started some more trivia-based cards. These cards look like this. I do have video tutorials on how to make these if you are interested. You can check the description box below for a link to that video and to the entire playlist for our chemistry in case you want to see some of the other demonstrations or the one that we did on burning botanicals and refined fuel. So these ones have questions on the back. They're based on the format of, loosely based on the format of the Professor Noggin's trivia-based cards. And those ones we just put behind our door. This is our door to the schoolroom. And we used to have them just in the bookcase mixed in with whatever subject area they related to. So Professor Noggin's have history cards, they have science cards. And so we we love playing these. We use them for our opening activities. And they didn't have one on chemistry. They have it on the sciences, but even if they had it on that subject area, I think doing our own trivia-based cards is really helpful for us understanding the content. So these are my examples. My daughter, who is 14, did her set, and so she copied the illustration. She did hers in color pencil. I am using some Stockmar watercolors. And then the questions on the back are unique for each of us. So she did her set, I did my set. And this is fabulous. If you've never done this, I highly recommend it because it causes you or your student to really understand the material well enough to form questions with answers. And we do like multiple choice, true and false, fill in the blank. And it really allows you to understand the information really well, very deeply. And since we are going to be playing these with each other, we do try to make the questions challenging enough because we get a little bit competitive and then we like to count up how many cards we get correct. So the way that we play this is that this is small enough that we just have 4 cards. And so I will give her a question, and if she gets the question right, just the one, this card has 4 questions. This card has 5 questions. This one has 5 and combustion has 6. So we'll just do the first question, and then once we do another round, like the following day, we might go to question 2, or she might choose one that's really challenging of her questions. And then if you get the card right, or if you get the question right, you get the card. So since we're still doing our chemistry main lesson block, I decided to add a few more cards. So I worked on these yesterday. We have acids and bases, and we have 5 questions here. I think that I'm going to make another card for acids and bases. We also have them for forming salts. I did 2 cards because this one I felt like it's beautiful and almost exactly the same, but I felt like the writing was a little bit cramped. So I did this one, but I have not written the questions down. But I did this yesterday when my daughter was at volleyball, and now today she can work on these, both the front and the back side, now that I've already done like an example of the illustration. Now she can go in and do her own illustration and her own questions. I'm sorry, she can copy my illustration if she wants. I mean, she can do a completely different one. So for today, we're going to be working on our chemistry. We did our demonstration yesterday, so today we have to put into the main lesson book the content that we have been working on previously. So this is the main lesson book that I have done instead of working solely on the chalkboard. So the chalkboard does have more chalk drawings for this main lesson block than we typically do. Usually we'll have like 1 chalk drawing for like an entire main lesson block. This time we've already done 3 chalk drawings. But in general, with our demonstrations, I will do an illustration and a written narration. We also do have some lab reports as well, but we're not doing them for every demonstration. The demonstration or the entry also includes a little bit about the science with the demonstration, and then it includes an illustration for the demonstration that we did. Sometimes it includes an actual literal illustration of the apparatus that we used. Sometimes it's more of an artistic representation of the lesson rather than something that's exactly like what we did. My daughter's main lesson book is here, and the reason why I'm working in a main lesson book with her rather than just solely on the chalkboard is that way I can have this lesson written up and prepared, and then when she's ready, she can do her illustration. I found that it was easier for me to do an illustration separately rather than us working together. Then she's trying to look over and see how to draw it, or we're drawing something similar, and I'm usually taking more time, and it just ended up not functioning very well for us. So I do the illustration and the written portion. She copies the illustration, and then she writes her own original narration, and she does her own lab report. But she can still use this to refresh her memory on the lesson, and she can use our other resources. So we do have some other resources that we're using. Some of them are over here as well. And I do have a complete list of all of the books that we're using. You can find that on the blog post that accompanies the chemistry videos, and all of those links are in the description box below if you're interested in seeing the other videos or the blog post where you can see like pictures and video tutorials, as well as all of the books that we're using both for a chemistry main lesson block, for like a Waldorf inspired main lesson block, as well as a chemistry unit study. Because some of these books that I have would be more for like a unit study, but I am using them to brush up on information in preparation for presenting our lessons. I have my degree in chemistry, actually, and yet I still need a lot of brushing up on information in presenting our lessons. I am using our live education Waldorf curriculum for chemistry. This is a main lesson block curriculum that accompanies other main lesson blocks for year 8. And then I'm also using this book called Chemistry the Waldorf Way by Roberto Trosli, and this has been really helpful as well. The other main lesson that we're doing today, and it's not typical to do 2 main lessons in a day for it, like in the Waldorf way, we're usually cycling through our main lesson blocks, but this is what I decided for this year since we had so many blocks that we wanted to cover. So we're also doing our anatomy main lesson block, and for that I'm primarily using Muscles and Bones by Charles Kovacs, and I do have other resources as well. Again, all of those resources and that entire playlist is linked in the description box below. And so we're going to be reading this chapter today, but first we have to start with our opening activities. And our opening activities are going to be this book, Reflecting on the Names of Allah. I think we're done with the name Ar-Razak. So I think we're going to choose another name, and we're not going in order. We are just choosing a name, not quite at random, but we're just going through the book, not in chronological order. We also have our mental math to do. And since we are up to date on it, we're just doing 1 day at a time, so it literally takes like a minute. It is so short. So we're going to do our mental math. For history, we are reading The Sword of Allah, Khalid ibn al-Walid. This biography is amazing. A friend recommended this book years ago. I bought it then. I read barely a chapter and then I never finished it. And now I'm reading this with my daughter and it's just brilliant. It's so good. Really, really enjoying it. Okay, so I'm going to pull out a few activities for our opening activities, a few things that we can do, and then we're going to dive into that and do some main lesson work. Oh, and at 12 o'clock, I need to cook food and finish the kitchen because that's when my daughter is doing her online class. So that's what I'm going to be cooking today. We're cooking Persian food. Maybe. Actually, I might change my mind. Actually, let's see what happens. I might be cooking something different. I might make that for dinner instead because we don't have all the family members home. Usually a lot more people are home during the day, and today everyone seems to be out. So I might make something a little more simple for my daughter and myself and then keep that for dinner. So let me pull out a Professor Noggins trivia card game. Let's do, what should we do? Oh, you know what? I know exactly what I'd like to do. I would like to do the outer space one because coming up next is a main lesson on astronomy. And here are all of our astronomy books. Some of our other resources like our games and our projects are down below. But I'm really, really excited to get that going. So I think I might pull out our astronomy things to do in conjunction with chemistry and anatomy. I don't know how that's going to work. Let's find out. Let's pick a couple of picture books to go. This one's called Look Up. Let's see. What else can we choose? Margaret and the Moon. Let's do these two as part of our opening activities. The way we play the Professor Noggins game is that we each do 5 cards so that it's a quick game. And then I'll ask any of the questions on the back, and then whoever gets it right gets to keep the card. And then we count it up at the end. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a great way just to start our homeschool day. Okay, we're gonna do a hard question. What is the closest star to the sun? Not our sun, not the closest star to us, but the closest star to our sun. It's time to read Margaret to the Moon. It's 11:25, so we only have about a half an hour left to do our opening activities. And I'm hoping that we have time to read our next chapter in Muscles and Bones. And these books finally came in. They are super old, but I found one called You and Your Ears, actually, from a thrift bookstore. Liked it so much, I went and I got the rest of them in this series, and we're still waiting on Heart and Lungs to arrive. I think it'll probably arrive later this week. So we're going to make some dough for lunch. I am almost out of yeast. I think we can have, I think we'll have enough to make a couple more batches, and then we'll do our chicken, our Zeresh Polo for dinner instead. I have some warm water in here, and I already added some sugar, and now I'm going to add the yeast. I'm just gonna sprinkle, I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm gonna kind of go heavy on it because I kind of need it to rise quickly. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. This yeast is old now. It's past its prime, and so my yeast needs a little bit of babying because it's not doing so well. And I need to buy more, and I've gone to 2 places and both places didn't have it. So I'm gonna try a 3rd place to replenish our pizza or our yeast, because we've been making pizza a lot lately. Spent the last couple of days cleaning out the pantry. It feels so good to have the space cleaned up in time for, you know, spring cleaning in the summer and everything. I eyeball the proportions. It's usually 2 to 1 for flour to water, so usually around 6 cups of flour to 3 cups of water. But I often don't measure anymore. I just know the consistency that I like, and then I add roughly a tablespoon of sugar. I added way more today because I just kind of need to baby that yeast a little bit, need to rise a little bit faster. And then a teaspoon of salt usually, or thereabouts. And then if my yeast is fresh, I can get away with using like barely 1/8 of a teaspoon of yeast, and it will rise just fine. We're going to sprinkle in the salt, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil as well. Totally optional. I don't add olive oil often, but I think it's nice. There's no need to knead this dough recipe. I just used my wooden spoon and just kind of got it all mixed up really well. And then I'm just gonna cover it and let it rise for a couple hours. If you want the actual recipe, it's listed in the description box below. I've been making this dough recipe for so many years, and it's worked really well for us. And then this can be used with so many different recipes, and I just make slight alternatives to it. Like today I used olive oil. I don't always use olive oil, and you can also substitute a little bit of the water with either milk or yogurt if you want like a one for, like, say the Lebanese cheese pies, for instance. But overall, this super easy for today's lunch. Oh, and it's about 10 to noon. It's almost noon, so my daughter's gonna get ready for her online class. So at this point, I'm gonna finish cleaning up the kitchen because we're going from cabinet to cabinet to clean out each cabinet, clean out each drawer. I've already done these 4 drawers, and our kitchen needs a lot of TLC, but in the meantime, I'm going to go cabinet to cabinet and continue to do the clean out, put some of these things that are on the counter away, either where they belong or I'm putting them aside to give away. And so I just want to get all of this stuff cleaned off because it is Wednesday and I want as much of this done by the weekend. I've been cleaning out the kitchen and I found these yogurt jars, and I actually end up using them for our watercoloring as just watercolor jars. Okay, so it's now 12:35 and I have a friend popping in to have lunch. And first it was tea. Actually, first it was just to come help me with something unrelated to homeschooling, and then it turned into tea, and now it's lunch. So the dough is not ready yet, so we're just gonna have eggs and toast, and that will be my lunch and my friend's lunch. And then by the time my daughter is done with her class and my son is home, then hopefully I'll make a couple of pizzas for them. The kitchen is coming along. There's still some things to do, but we've made a ton of progress. There's my friend's tea. I'm just warming up the cup. Well, that's not tea, that's just water. I'm warming up the cup and I'm gonna make her some PG tips, and we're gonna have some eggs and cheese. It's time to make some dinner. We're going to cut up an onion and fry it up for the Polo rice. The rice is so good. And for this, we're also going to do about 3.5 cups of rice. I'm gonna rinse the rice and then use the Instant Pot to cook it. I'm going to season with some salt and olive oil and just use the rice function for it. Super easy. For the chicken, we are going to use a lot of turmeric, some olive oil, and some salt. That's it. It's a really flavorful chicken. We're using chicken quarters, and part of what makes it so delicious is how we cook it, and we broil it first, and then we bake it so that the skin is nice and crispy. Even if you don't eat the skin, keeping the skin on helps it stay really moist, and the skin adds a lot of flavor. I'm gonna add even more turmeric than that. Some olive oil. There's already about maybe 1/2 cup to 1 cup of water in there as well, and then generous with the salt as well. The onions are frying up really well. Onions take so long to do, but you don't want to skip this when you're making Polo. Like, you definitely want the fried onions. It just really adds to it. And the barberries, I'll show those to you. You can definitely marinate this like for a couple hours, but I almost never do. So I'm just going to make sure that this is well mixed together. Sometimes it's easier just to mix the turmeric with the water and the oil first rather than putting your chicken all in it. This will take a minute to really get all mixed up and incorporated, and then we'll put it onto a sheet pan, pop it in the oven on broil for about 12 to 15 minutes, and then we will bake it for another 30 to 35 minutes at around 400 or 420 degrees. This is as much as I'm going to fry the onions. These are barberries. You can find them at Persian supermarkets, and I'm gonna add all of the rest of it. And I think that's maybe not even a cup, maybe. Now the stove is off because barberries burn really fast, so I do want them to heat up a little bit and kind of absorb a little bit of that oil. I'll probably add a little bit more oil as well. And I didn't add any salt yet to the onions. I usually add when I'm frying them, but you also want to add a little bit of sugar as well to bring out the flavor of the barberries. So just a little bit of sugar, and then I'm gonna add just a little bit more oil. And the rice needs still some time, but as soon as the rice is done, then I will add this to the rice with a little bit of saffron. It's been on broil for a little less than 10 minutes. It's looking really good. Probably leave it on broil for another 3-ish minutes before we can bake it. And there's still like a considerable amount of liquid, but if it gets too dry, you can cover it. If it gets too moist, you can leave it uncovered so that some of the water can evaporate and leave behind like a really delicious sauce. That looks perfect. The broiling is done. You want it just to have just that little bit of crisping on the top. And I might add maybe like 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water. And then we're just going to leave it uncovered and bake for about 30 minutes, 25 minutes on 420. The rice is done, so I'm going to vent the rice. That way we can add the barberries and onions to it. This was the dough from today. We've already used some of it. It didn't rise as much as I was hoping. We used maybe about half the dough, but our yeast, I think it's a good thing we don't have much left because it's really struggling. There's some saffron, and here's all the toppings. We're gonna mix it in. I added some extra olive oil so that it could be more delicious. It's about 5:20 in the afternoon. We've had a busy day. The homeschool for today is mostly book work, but there are a few things that I'd like to do right now. My friend came for lunch, but really it was a working lunch, and she helped me with a really big project that I needed to do. And my daughter had her class end at 1, and then there was lunch, and so we typically take a really long lunch break normally. So at this point, we're going to be doing our history. Our history at the moment is the Khalid ibn al-Walid book. We're going to be doing that. But also, I'm going to prepare a slide for us to look under the microscope, look at the pond water, or the creek water rather, under the microscope and see if there's anything that we can detect. And we'll skip doing the pH test today. We'll do that tomorrow. And then we'll work on some of the other projects that we need to do and book work. So dinner is ready. No, I take it back. Dinner is almost ready. The rice is ready, but the chicken is still cooking a little bit. And so when that's done, and the family's all kind of going to be trickling in later this afternoon and early evening, but we're going to get started on our afternoon lessons, and then we're going to settle in at the desk and just do a lot of like our book work and putting things into the main lesson book. I've got my slides here. Let me just pull one out. I don't think I've done this in a really long time. Put this right here. Then I've got some pipettes. Kind of excited to see if there's anything. It's not right. There we go. Oopsies. Okay. Oh, there's something in there already. Well, let's move that. All right, that took a minute. I think it's positioned correctly. Now I just need to get it in focus. Ooh. All right, let's see if I can show you this. Okay. Let me see if I can focus it for you. Nope. Wait a minute. Oop, there we go. Look at that. We have stuff. None of it looks alive though. I thought maybe we'd see some interesting things. But that looks mostly like debris. It's good anyway though. This was exciting. Let's see if there's... That's kind of neat. Yeah, I kind of thought maybe we'd see other things, but this is pretty good. This is pretty good. You see all the stuff that's settled at the bottom? That, there was some stuff before, but that looks kind of new. Oh, it's hard to see. I think I'm going to take out a lot of the water from this test tube and see if I can try to pull up some of whatever is at the bottom and see if we can find anything in that. So I emptied out some of the water, and in doing so kind of mixed it up by accident. So now that it's mixed up, and I found a longer pipette. So I'm going to take from, oh, I don't even think I can reach the bottom. And the food is done. Okay, there's the single drop. My daughter's gonna prepare this one while I go get dinner. Dinner smells so good. Oh, and that looks beautiful. Okay, let's check it out. Oh, that's just beautiful. Okay, I'm going to leave it in the oven. No one's ready to eat yet. I'm gonna leave it in the oven and leave the oven door open so it doesn't like dry out, and it can start to cool down, but slowly. It's gonna just fall off the bone. All right, now we can check. This is the pond water with like debris and, oh, there we go. Wait, where are we? How do I move this? This way. Oops. Nope. That was a lot of fun. We did a lot of examining a variety of things with the microscope. It's now 5:45. My daughter's going to have dinner right now, and I'm going to work on some of the trivia cards that we started yesterday. I'm going to finish doing the questions on the back and then start on another one for acids and bases. It's 6:30 and I finished the questions for this card, and I'm getting some new questions together for the next card that we're going to do. I think when we're done reading our history, I'm going to do another illustration based on this page and then write up the next questions. And I did a lot of the reading for this section here in preparation for our lesson. But first, we're going to read this book. We didn't finish it this morning. We only got to Margaret and the Moon. It's almost 7 and we finished this book, and it's now time to either read this or, let's see, where... Oh, here we go. I think we're actually going to do Muscles and Bones because yesterday we skipped the chapter. Like, we skipped reading this one because we were in a really intense part of the book for Khalid ibn al-Walid. And we finished the chapter kind of late last night. So now we're on chapter 4. And I think that we'll just do a few pages because it is getting a little bit later in the evening. But I definitely want to do this before we run out of energy. Let's see. We're at the very end. We are reading chapter 39, The Spine and Balance. We just finished our chapter and it is now about 7:20. So we're kind of like feeling a little bit tired at the end of this school day. So we're only going to read maybe 3 to 5 pages. It's 7:35 and we just finished. We did about 4 pages and we got to a good stopping point. So we'll stop this. It is now, did I say 7:35? Yeah. So this book called Muscles and Bones is the perfect complement for the chapter that we just read in our anatomy book, also by the name Muscles and Bones. And so we're going to do this book tomorrow instead of moving on to the next chapter. Also, it's been a few days since we did any entries into our main lesson book for anatomy. And so we do need to spend some time. Now, on Thursdays, my daughter has some in-person classes for most of the day. So our homeschool is very much abridged. And I usually spend that time getting caught up on lessons that I'm preparing so that she has the work ready to go to put into her main lesson book. And so that's probably something that we'll end up doing tomorrow. And maybe we'll just read this book in the evening because it seems kind of enjoyable along with Khalid ibn al-Walid. So that's for tomorrow. For today, we're officially done with our homeschool day. My daughter's going to go have a little bit more dinner. My daughter spent a considerable time of the afternoon working on her key to geometry. She's done with book number 6 now. She's on to book number 7, and there are only 8 in this series. And we did get a little bit behind, and so she's working on about 10 pages a day so that we can finish by the end of June. We will be homeschooling through June, and we'll be taking July and part of August off before we start the new school year. And so these pages, you can see that there aren't that many questions per page, like 1 or 2. And in this case, it's 1 main question with several parts to it. And so getting through several pages a day isn't a problem. And so this is something that she's spending a lot of time doing because we got behind on our geometry. We did a geometry main lesson block earlier in the school year, and we intended to go back to our geometry main lesson block, but we never did because we did our sciences mostly and our history. So it's good to be getting through this one because even if we're not working on the main lesson block, at least she's getting her geometry every day as well as her other daily work. And then this is the lab that she's working on from exothermic reactions. So this is her main lesson book, and then this is the main lesson book that I have the examples in. And then there's also the student lab notebook, and she was working in this one for at least one of our demonstrations. And I might only have her do one more in the student lab book. The rest of it's going to go into the main lesson book. It's just after 8 p.m. and I finished this card with a little bit of notations for the pH scale, and we'll do the questions on the back tomorrow. So that's it for our day.